Ryan here. I changed my channel name to Ryan Koi instead of Fundamentally Chinese, since I think it's not necessary for me to remain anonymous. So today it's gonna be a very interesting topic, I would say, because today we're gonna discuss my little secret about getting perfect grades if you wanted to. Even in my SPM, I got 7 A plus or 10 A's in total out of the 11 subjects. I also got 4 flat for my SRCs. So my A levels, I got 4 flat for my first semester, now going for the second semester. So let's see what are the secret techniques that you can use while you are studying for your exams. There are many research papers that has proved that these techniques are effective, not only just individuals, but also proven in statistical research papers. The description, you can check it out, the sources for yourself. So let's roll the intro. As you can see, there's a new intro now. So let's start the video by giving you a little general tips on how to study. Yeah. So one of the first things that you need to establish is what are the subjects based on. Is it an understanding-based subject? Is it a memory-based subject? Or is it both of them, the understanding and memory-based subjects? We will go into finer details as what are the subjects that I mentioned just now, so you get a clearer picture. And my techniques are also gonna be focusing based on what types of subject they are, so it can be more specific towards how you can achieve better grades on that specific subjects. Other than that, we need to identify your own weaknesses and strengths. Just like me, I also have my own weaknesses that I focus more on and rather than my strength. Because right now you are just trying to get good grades for all the subjects and you are not specializing in your career yet. Because people are born inherently with a specific talent and a specific skill set that they can use to help them achieve good grades. What our techniques and tips going to be focusing on today is the hard work. What are the hard work that we put into multiplying the coefficient of success? Yeah, so this is very important. The hard work doesn't mean how much hard effort that I put, however, is the amount of produce, the value that we provide, the effect that we provide for the specific thing that we are doing. That is why we want to be more efficient and effective in our studies. It is also important that you need to schedule and also plan your studies. Do not spend too much time on scheduling. However, try to keep the time you creating the schedule must be very short and also effective. You must do it according to your to-do list, your priority list, what the things you want to focus on. Yeah, so that's it. I think that sums it up for the general tips that you need while studying. So now guys, let's focus on memory-based subjects. What are those memory-based subjects that we need to focus on? The first being biology, history, geography, or whatever subject that you think need to memorize a lot. Those are memory-based subjects. We are heavily rely on memory, but still rely a bit, but not as much of the understanding aspect. What we use in this technique is called the active recall framework. I would say that no other techniques can beat this effectiveness, and there is literally hundreds and thousands of research that prove that this effectiveness of this study technique is the best. Yeah. So what is active recall framework, you might ask? This is actually a framework that allows you to recall information. So this is actually quite logical if you think it like this. Yeah. So now you can see you are during an exam. What do you do during a memory-based subjects examination? You try to retrieve the information, right? You try to regurgitate the information you memorize during your revision and put it onto the test paper itself. Although I don't think that this is the best way to learn something, however, we are just playing according to the system, right? We just want to get good grades based on the system that is in place already. Yeah. So by regurgitating the information, yeah. So focus on this regurgitating information. What does our body do? We can only get good at certain things if we do that thing repeatedly. So instead of just trying to just consume information, practicing eating the information up, it is important in the active recall framework that you yourself try to regurgitate and recall all the information you memorize. This allows your brain to properly digest the information, properly recite and build those neural networks that is so vitally important in trying to make your memory work. Before I go into specific on how I memorize the information itself, let us break down others memory-based subject study techniques that are actually not quite effective and actually waste a lot of your time. So one of the more popular revision studying techniques is to do notes, just passively absorbing the data and information and writing down onto the paper. This is actually one of the worst way you can do to study unless you're trying to compile this information for you to memorize easier. If you think that noting, the act of noting itself is an effective way to do revision, you are absolutely wrong. Although there are many research that says that it's actually directly proportional to the amount of time people spend on noting is directly proportional to their grades. However, their result pales in comparison to the active recall framework. So you can actually see, I will put down this table I got from the research paper. So they compared, they collected hundreds of paper on different study techniques and they make a conclusion out of what are the best study techniques and what their utility is. There is actually a lot of things we can digest here. You see, the elaborative interrogation method, it is actually the technique where you try to blast information, try to ask questions to each of your friend. It's like interrogation. It's like a questionnaire for your friend and yourself. Try to feedback. Those are effective, however, it's just moderate. And self-explanation, you try to explain the concept itself to other people or just try to explain to yourself only. It also has a moderate, which you can use, meaning that you can use, and it's moderately effective. However, you can see summarizing, highlighting, keyword mnemonics, imaginary use for text learning and rereading. These are completely irrelevant in this competitive world anymore because these techniques are just too inefficient to use. Whereas you can see practice testing, which is one of the ways you can do as active recall. Distributed practice, meaning spaced repetition, meaning you are doing this practice 1 week later or 2 weeks later, meaning the spaced repetition of doing the active recall. In this world, which is very competitive and you want to get good grades at least amount of time and least amount of effort as possible. So, as you can see, research has said that active recall framework is the best. So far, nothing can beat this study technique. What do I specifically do while memorizing the concept itself? Because you cannot just active recall without knowing anything, right? So what I do actually is try to read the thing, close the thing, and try to read out what I specifically memorized just now. So it's just try to recap on what you studied there. So do it once or twice until you are like confident enough that you will not forget this information, at least like for some time. Okay, you are going to do this based on chapters. For me, it's based on chapters. This first round of active recall is specifically to put the information into my brain first. Okay, by putting information already, now that I have finished, for me, I usually segregate my active recall session into chapters instead. So, for example, I have a nervous system biology chapter. I will memorize the whole nervous tissue chapter first, do the active recall, and then move on to the cardiovascular system or topics later on. So, after I memorize the whole topic, and when you are memorizing it, try to put information, the act of putting information, try to index your information. It's like, okay, you can read through it like a textbook in your brain. Okay, so it will be easier for you to index and know what you actually missed or did not miss during an exam. So that's what I actually do. And then after you have indexed and memorized the whole lecture, this is a difficult part now. You try to write out every single letter and single word you remember from your lectures. Every single thing without looking back into the lecture notes. This is a very important. Just trust yourself, okay? you will remember those information. You just need to put a little bit of faith in yourself, and it is very difficult. I'm telling you, this first round of the active record is going to be hard. It's meant to be hard because you're changing your own neural network itself, neural pathway itself, trying to form new connection to memorize this concept. So this process is definitely gonna be hard, but you need to push yourself to memorize this. It will take some time. However, the time you spend is way less if you're just rereading the concept. Now it's about 2 weeks later after you memorize everything from your active record. You can maybe during this next 2 weeks or 1 week, you can focus on other subjects like physics, chemistry, and other subjects that we're going to discuss later on how you're going to memorize those understanding-based subjects. So during this time, after 2 weeks, which is what we're going to do, is a spaced repetition. Okay. Now we're going to do the round 2 of active recall. This time is going to be the same thing almost as the first time, but this time you're going to read and try to memorize, regurgitate everything you remember from the last session while sliding through your slide without looking exactly. It's time to blur in your vision and try to just get the gist of, oh yeah, this page should be roughly about this information. So you're going to write it down, speak it out, and then when you speak out, refer back to your notes, the lecture notes, and see what information you missed. What are the things that you did not memorize? What are the information that is difficult to memorize? So during this time, it should take way less time than your first session because you already have some pre-cognitive memory of it. Okay, so just do this and then try to isolate what are the things that you keep forgetting. Yeah. Okay, after 1 week or so, because we're trying to fight the forgetting curve, normally it's like the more repetition you have, the less time interval that the more time you can try to, you take more time for you to forget. Okay, so it's like 1 week before exam or just during the week of exam. Okay, this is time you do the third round of active recall. This time you're gonna feel way much easier than the first 2 times. It's like normally it will take me like for the first session I'm gonna take a week to memorize the whole subject chapters. The second time will take me like maybe 2 to 3 days, while the third time of recall gonna take like 2-3 hours after I finish the whole chapter already. So you can see the progression there. It's like getting easier and easier for you to recall those information because you already practice doing the thing itself. Okay. Then during exam, it's the final time you're gonna regurgitate all the information and put it on the exam paper. That should be the end of all the memory-based subjects I have gathered here. So now we are gonna go into the understanding-based subjects that include physics, maths, and also other concepts that you need to understand in order to perform during exams. This is my personal tip, is try to build your ego about the subject. Try to be prideful for knowing things and be threatened that you do not understand certain concepts. Try to understand that there are things that you don't understand and you need to understand. Despite there might be some other people who just say that we just sub the formula into it should be fine, I can deal with the exam. No, what we are trying to get here is trying to get the perfect grade. So you might need to spend the extra effort. But spending the extra effort is very difficult for most people. So that is why I ask you to build your ego for these understanding-based subjects. The motivation itself, the fear of not knowing things will push you to understand more stuff, push you to understand whatever there is to understand in your syllabus. Other than that, when you're studying subjects like physics, try to cross-link the concept itself through different chapters. Merge those concepts together so you can actually have a proper understanding of actually what you are dealing with in real life itself. And also, try to always ask your question. Ask the people who are going to explain it in a way that you understand. And also, one tip I want to add is that you can just pre-read your study lecture, your textbook or your lecture notes before the class, because if you read your notes before class, you have already read it. So you do not need to be busy reading the notes itself during when your lecturer is trying to explain it. So that should round out basically everything you need to know about studying subjects. I'll just briefly mention this a bit. For subjects like chemistry and other subjects that require memory and understanding at the same time, try to just incorporate both of those concepts I mentioned just now, from memory-based subject and also understanding-based subjects. Try to integrate together for subjects like chemistry because they require both of them. So in conclusion, I hope that you guys can try studying efficiently and effectively, and we can get good grades together and perfect grades together, yeah? So I don't want people, I hope that this video can stop people wasting their time on not using ineffective studying methods, and try to be as efficient as possible, as productive as possible, so you can relax more, yeah? So I hope this help you guys a lot, because I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I just cannot push myself to do it. So I've seen many people wasting their time and I got tired of it. So I decided to make this video. I hope this video can greatly help you guys in your grades, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.